Hello guys, Sarak Pandey here from Indian Vivek School and you're watching Basic to Advanced Paro series inside of Houdini. If you like the content, make sure you subscribe and join our Facebook page. You can also head to our website and check out our courses on Houdini, Phoenix FD, Typeflow, etc. and book yourself for 7 days free demo class. And watch by yourself how some of the students have made to the top studios in just 2 months of our course. Alright guys, so welcome back to the part 2. And in this part we are going to look at divergence, or you can call it expansion. So before starting, let me just explain it in a really easy language and giving a real world example in order to really understand what it really does. Okay, so I've seen a lot of people using it. I mean, obviously you have to use it if you are making an explosion, but people don't really understand the concept behind it. Okay, so the way I'm going to explain is really simple. So let's say you have a big box, it's a metal container or it's a drum or whatever, and then you have fuel filled inside it. Okay, so you can say there's diesel or there's petrol or kerosene, whatever, something which is very flammable substance. Okay, and now what you do is you enclose this box from everywhere, and this box is really strong. Okay, it's made up of let's say vibranium. No, that will be invincible, so let's say it's made up of metal only. Okay, and now what you do, you take a little bit of temperature or little bit of fire and you just put it inside. So now what's going to happen? A chain reaction will happen, because all of the fuel, it's going to just ignite right away and it will just try to expand. Okay, it will just try to because whenever there's more energy, it always expands. Whenever energy releases, it will just expand outwards, because it finds, the system finds the system wants to stabilize itself. Okay, the heat, it wants to dissipate, everything wants to stabilize, so it just wants to expand over it. But the problem is the metal container, it's holding it so tightly, because it's made up of really strong metal. So the fireball and the explosion is not able to go out. And now what happens, all the fuel is being burned, and now the container cannot withstand the force. So initially it was able to hold it, but at last it's not going to hold it, so now it's going to break. Okay, it's going to break from wherever it's least least strong, so especially on the joints area or whatever, and then all the fireball is going to come out. Okay, so this explosion happened only because this fuel was contained inside our metal box, and that is something to really take a note about, because otherwise the explosion wouldn't have happened. And that is a very true thing. Wherever in the case of a dynamite or any kind of explosion, the explosion only happens because we are trying to contain all the energy, and then it all releases at once. So the energy just keeps on adding and adding, and then it just releases at once. Okay, so now let me so if you want to have a proof of that, what you can do is take the same container and now just pour the fuel in the ground. Okay, just pour the fuel in the ground, and now because now we are not having any container and all the fuel is on the ground, and now if we try to ignite it with lighter or any fire, now it's not going to explode. Why? Because the system is already stabilized. Okay, it will just burn into flames and everything, but it's not going to explode, because now there is nothing which is holding all the temperature and all the gas together. Nothing is trying to contain it, and then all of a sudden it will just explode. So there's nothing like that which is really happening. So this phenomena is known as expansion. Okay, obviously in CG we are not going to hold it together or anything. We just want this expansion feeling, we just want this this divergence feeling. So you can call it expansion or you can call it divergence. So if you use Fume FX, you might be familiar with expansion, even though we also use this term in Houdini also. And so that is it. So now let's just start. Okay, So if you come over here, you can see we are having last time where we left off, we had this smoke simulation. Okay, we had smoke and we have density. Sorry, we have density and we had temperature. Okay, now let's just talk about the expansion thing. Okay, or the divergence thing. So once again, as I said, the source is not important. You can just call it density, and out of that density we can just make a divergence. Okay, so if I just come over here and in this volume source, I can click on this add operation. Okay, and I can just copy this density, paste it over here, and now I will call it divergence. The output field will be known as divergence. Okay, all right. Now if I do the same, you're going to see there was a little bit of expansion which happened. The smoke, it expanded a little bit. So if you want to really see it, I can put it to 5. Now let's see, and you can see this ball, it expanded, it enlarged, and then it stopped. So you can see the expansion which is taking place, and that is all that we want to talk about. Okay, now let us see how we can, like, kind of make an explosion, a really quick explosion. Obviously this is not a final explosion or anything, but we can get a feel of explosion with this divergence. Okay, so first of all, I'll just turn it off. Okay, and obviously right now you can see this is more of a smoke simulation, a continuous smoke simulation, because the fire and the temperature, like the temperature and the smoke, it's just going out. Okay, so as I showed you, like in a explosion, what happens is, like, all the source, all the fuel, it just gets burned right away in just 10 seconds or 5 seconds. It will just get burned. So we need to keyframe this stuff. Okay, and the way I like to do is, I don't like to keyframe it directly. Instead, what I'll do is, I'll just add a new volume source. Okay, and I call it master controller. Okay, and what I'm gonna do is just add one operation, and you don't really need to write anything, and I'll just disable the simulation as of now because I want to keyframe stuff. So here I will add a key. From here to here, I'll put it to 1. Okay, again 1 key, and then I'll put it to 0. So what's happening is, it's going from 1 to 0. Okay, now I will just click on this copy parameter, and I'll just do a paste relative references, and same over here. Same over here on the density and the temperature. Okay, so now obviously I need to turn on the simulation. Okay, and if I play, you can see we got an initial, we got a initial explosion, or initial source of density and temperature, and then it just vanishes. Okay, and because this is dissipating, I can go over here and decrease the dissipation. I can put it to 0.03. Okay, now I can turn on this divergence. Okay, I can turn it on, and obviously we need to animate the divergence also. So right now it's looking fine. It's looking fine. So what I can do is, I can just do this paste relative references again. So all of these guys, they are connected with this. So they are just following this animation, which is going from 1 to 0. Okay. And now let's say if I want to increase only the divergence, what I can do is, I can just go over here, and let me just show you. So if I'll just press Control E to make this window big, and maybe I can just multiply it by 5. Okay, so now what's going to happen, all of our keyframes are going to get multiplied by 5. So here it is just 1, but here it's 5, and now this way we can just increase our divergence. Okay, so that is something to take note of. This is how we can use it. Okay, so as you can see, we have successfully got a fireball or an explosion ball. Okay, so this is the first step towards making a great looking explosion. And the best thing about this is, like, what you are doing. Okay, you are just not shooting in the dark. This way you can just control your explosion in just a way you want. Okay, and right now you can see this is looking very uniform. That is because our source is like that. However, we are going to break the source by velocity fields later. But right now, what we can do is, we can just add a mountain. Okay, we can just add a noise. Okay, and to our sphere. Okay, and you will see how good this thing really works. Just adding some, just adding some noise to our surface uh, gives such good results. That is because, so once again, if I take you back to my theoretical part, so you can see over here, let me just show you once again. Okay, so you can see how this thing, formed this different kind of shape. Okay, and that is how we get different kinds of shapes in our explosion. Okay, and maybe again, let's say if I want to have more divergence because I feel like this is not that explosive, so again I can just multiply it by maybe, let's say, 10. Okay, and something like this. Okay, all right, so now let's talk about why is it so that we are getting this kind of plume. Okay, so we are getting this kind of explosion. Okay, and then when we are adding noise, we are getting this kind of explosion. And why is it so that we want variation in our explosion? Okay, so this mushroom, that is very important to, to break its look. Okay, breaking its look is like really important. Okay, so how we can do that? And like, we already see how we can do that, but why does it even happen? And that thing happens because when this container it breaks. Okay, so when we are looking at this container, when it breaks from its less strong areas, it's never, it doesn't completely blows away at once. Okay, instead it will first break from here, then it will break from here. So there's always a randomness. So the plume might go first from here, then it will go from here, then it will come out from here. So that will result in, having a different kind of shape, a more random kind of explosive shape. Okay, so that is what we are trying to do over it. Then we add more vortex confinements and every stuff to make it, to add initial, like, smaller details to this, and then we add disturbance and all those noises and turbulence. So then we, just keep on getting into the finer details part. Okay, now once again, if I just offset my shape, I can just completely make a new kind of explosive shape. Okay, and that is like the basic stuff that goes into making an explosion. And later we are going to make our own custom velocities in order to shape our explosion the way we want, because right now we are only dependent upon this offset. Whatever this offset will give, we are just going to be happy with it and we are just going to work with that. But how about making an explosion where, where I can say, okay, one plume is going to go over here and the another plume is going to go over here. I'm going to have that ability to just control the explosion in that way. Okay, all right, so that is it for this divergence part, and we are going to meet in the next part. Bye bye, take care.